Hello and welcome to another ButterRice re-review. For all you single boys and girls out there facing the pandemic and potential lockdowns from wherever you are, just remember you are not alone. Luckily, we are all able to find some comfort in the weekly ritual that is reading One Piece. And for those of you who were not able to see your family since the holidays, or even now with this Lunar Spring Festival, I hope you were able to at least eat some good food this weekend. That's what I did this past weekend. Chapter 1004 Minute Dumplings. A chapter that makes me wish I was a gifter so I could see how damn tasty those dumplings must be. Thomas' power is like finding the perfect piece of meat for Luffy or feeding Zeus a weather egg. The love of food in One Piece is definitely something that connected to me to the series when I first came across it back in the day. Anyway, the reviewer's content we are looking at comes from Rogersbase, Grandlinereview, and Mr.Morj. Apologies, last video I totally thought his name was Mr.Moji, not Morj. But I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. The eye sees what it wants to see. Speaking of eyes, I'll be talking about in this episode how Oda has used his drawing power to illustrate how the people wearing eye masks in Wano are used as the special communication unit of the Beast Pirates, much like Shallow Mondor in the whole Cake Island arc, acting as the gatekeeper of information. First, we will cover the predictions our reviewers made this chapter, talk about some extra background information, and then also consider some good points made by the reviewers. As this chapter is not too action heavy and returns the reader to wider focus on multiple characters, it can be harder to make certain predictions, but our reviewers have tried anyway. The most obvious prediction starts with the answer everyone watching One Piece reviews wants to know. Who is the mysterious figure? Granite Review says it's probably a woman, with his first pick being Hayori. Second is Tsuru. Last is Toki. Roger says it's most likely Hayori. Toki second, and Tsuru last. Mr. M thinks it's not a Nell. Neither do I. Instead, he thinks it might be either Toki or Hayori, not mentioning Tsuru. So looking at all three reviewers' choices, Hayuri is the most likely according to our three-person statistic. I will go ahead and say that it's not Tatsuru because Tatsuru's chain is way too weak. Instead, she will be seen in the flower capital once Onigashima begins to draw near. Personally, this silhouette looks a bit masculine to me. Sorry, Grandlinereview. So I would predict that it's someone who's strong enough to protect our allies. Since it can't be Enel, so I don't know who else it will be that's not a Moraine. I'm going with Basil Hawkins or Fukurokuju. For the second pooling of predictions, all our reviewers made. We see a prediction that Robin will fight Black Maria. All three basically say, yes, this will happen. Unanimous. Do I think that will happen? Yes. The eye mask lady in the room looks too similar to Nico Robin. Plus, it's been too long since she's done anything cool. On to the next section, extra background information. Brought up by Grandlinereview, we have two awesome pieces of information. First, keeping on the topic of Robin. Yes, she is harder than Nami, but she has not had a one-on-one fight in the story since Skype. Can you believe that? I definitely just want to see some Robin sneaking up on people and breaking their necks. I don't necessarily care that she's on one-on-ones or not, but I would love to see her taking more single targets out sneakily and quickly overseeing her detain a bunch of nameless villains. The last time we saw Speed in One Piece chapter was in 2018. I didn't realize how long this arc was going. I thought Whole Cake was long, but this one is incredibly long. Whole Cake was great in showing calculated moves among independent groups, much more like chess. Mono has done this with even more detail, yet still also able to zoom out and set the scene up a bit better. A little too zooming on our characters, whereas in Wano, we're taking a step back much more often. You can see it in Oda's art more as well. Keeping it short, we enter our last segment of this chapter we review how Kaido's large crew maintains a centralized form of communication. In Wano country itself, we've seen examples of Kaido's crew using the Denden Mushi to make calls between locations. The limitations of the Denden Mushi being primarily voice operated has allowed our characters to previously free Wooden Prison and use it as a training ground before the invasion. This chapter, we've seen Oda clearly illustrate in his drawings and dialogue bubbles another form of communication that Kaido's crew uses. For simplicity, we'll call this power the telescope power, and is seen being used primarily by Bao Huang, someone who has an artificial flying squirrel devil fruit. She wears a thin mask over her face with a single eye drawn on it, and the four tarot-shaped bumps at the bottom. At least this is how the wiki describes her mask. Pao is the central point of the communication strategy used by the central main forces of the Beast pirates. We see her using the telescope power with the members of the Toby Ropo and the King. One useful example we have is that we know a mask user with only three turrets on her mask is sitting beside CPO. This is most likely so Bao can keep an eye on them throughout the battle. Pun intended. We also see Bao Huang using her power when Oda zooms our focus onto her actual eye underneath the mask. We do not see if this is on her forehead. From that panel, we transition into a new panel that allows us to see through Bao's perspective, as if we look through a telescope hole in the shape of an eye seen on the masks. Transitioning away from the scene, we see Bao speaking to Qin through one of her mask wearers. Is this Bao speaking, or is this flying mask wearer speaking to him by mimicking what she hears in the earpiece? It's easy to assume this is Bao's voice speaking, but without the anime, we cannot be certain. I think the telescope power deals mainly with the sight, not sound, and has a limited range. This is why we don't see her mass powers being used in places like Wooden Prison, where they still rely on Denden Mushi. Right now, it appears that the mask wearers are primarily used among the core of the Beast Pirates, with so far Who's Who and Black Maria having mask wearers in their party. As if to emphasize sight over voice, Oda shows us a mouse wearing the mask looking at the samurai from above in the rafters. This indicates she was not looking through the walls but using an animal mask wearer in the room. Good reminder on how her powers can have limits. I'm very interested in seeing more of her and her powers in the arc. And with that, Mugiwaras, the third re-review of One Piece is at a close. Thank you again for watching this video. Time is going on, and hopefully that means my videos are getting better. Please let me know your thoughts, if you have any, just to see who makes it to the end. If you're hearing this, then please comment pineapple in the comment below, just for fun. Alright, see you next week.